Hello, good evening, and welcome to Radio Times Talks. I'm Morgan Jeffrey, Executive Editor at RadioTimes.com. Joining me on the Radio Times Talks panel are RadioTimes.com's sci-fi and fantasy editor, Louise Griffin, content creator, Josh Bryanton, also known as TikTok's Jelly Joshin, and Will Preston and Rob Holden, co-hosts of the Marvel vs. Marvel podcast. Welcome. Right, the time has come. Let's talk about DC. So there have been highs and lows, I think it's fair to say, in DC's movie output, but it feels like it's never perhaps quite had the momentum, or at least the cohesion that Marvel's had up until this point. But Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn, he's jumping ship. He's going to serve as co-CEO of a new DC Studios, which is a revamped film operation. Panel, is James Gunn the right man for the job? Will, what do you think?
Absolutely. Not just because of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, not just because I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder, but I just genuinely think he's a very good storyteller who knows how to balance emotional weight, really good action scenes, and be very funny.
Josh?
Yeah, echoing that really. I think his work speaks for himself. I think even just looking at what he did with Guardians has been phenomenal, so it does make me very excited for that. I think you can definitely see, even in interviews, that he does have a love for what he's doing. He does take fans' feedback online. He's very active with fans as well. So I think that's going to be a different take rather than essentially what is someone just in the boardroom getting on with it. I think he's going to be very vocal with everyone. You know, he's been tied to some great projects in the past, even Scooby-Doo.
I mean, Louise, it does feel like that's maybe what DC was lacking, and why, you know, there have been some great movies, there have been some not so great movies, but what they didn't have was that Kevin Feige figure, right? The mastermind behind it all, who's kind of, you know, the puppet master, who's bringing it all together, making sure it has that through line, and now potentially it has that with James Gunn.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's been one of the large problems with DC. It's been so splintered. So to have someone, and as you said, a brilliant storyteller like James Gunn, just at the forefront of this, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do.
We're all being very pro Gunn, pro James Gunn here. Rob, are you on board as well?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I think that like the success of these universes is that cohesion, and that kind of continuity. You're a Fast and the Furious guy, right?
I love Fast and Furious.
When did people start really caring about those movies? It's when they took they gave up with the whole thing of these individual movies that didn't have any connection to each other, really. And that one producer came on board and went, I'm going to turn this into like a cohesive universe.
Yeah.
And here we are with the sort of 3-part finale that we're going to get now. And it's the same in comic books. Before Marvel came along in the 60s, there wasn't that kind of continuity, that kind of cohesive universe. And DC copied it very, very, very well. And hopefully that will be the same in the movies as well, because it helps you follow these characters and believe in this universe. And it's something that I think fans really want. But having that central figure, that kind of that creative vision and direction. And this happens in comic books all the time as well. Writers move from Marvel to DC all the time. And someone like James Gunn, who is able to see the emotional and dramatic potential in a tree and a raccoon, right? Or be it from great source material, is I think going to be really, really, really kind of vital. And some of the stuff he's referenced so far, the comic books he wants to talk about that is used as reference points online, give me huge amounts of hope for Superman and Batman.
If I were James Gunn, and maybe there's some reasons he couldn't do this, you know, contractual wrangles, who knows, I would have gone for a completely clean slate, like total reboot, and like let's start again at you know, day one, page one. And what they're doing with DC Studios, I agree. I think he's a great talent. I think he's you know, the right man to do this job. But it's this kind of quasi reboot where some of what we've seen before is staying around. Some of it's new. They're recasting some roles. They may keep others. I mean, again, Will, is that the right approach?
I mean, yeah, I would agree. I think they should keep, wipe the slate clean. But then you have this problem of these extra threads happening in the background with, we've got a new Batman film, we've got a new Joker film. Are they part of the DC universe? No. Are they DC? Yes. So it's kind of feel like it is kind of a reboot, but we're not deleting other things that are happening at the same time. You can't get rid of that mess, but at the same time, there's going to be limitations to what Gunn can do. But Long story short, I agree with you. Blank slate all the way.
Yeah, but again, just to play devil's advocate with myself,
Hello.
is that
Do you need us for this?
I'm a one-man panel. No, is that throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Because it would be madness, right, to say we're not going to do the Batman 2 because we're rebooting. We're not going to make a sequel to Joker, which made a ton of money, just because we're going to reboot. So actually having that Elseworlds tag, Rob, which
thorough mistake. It's a thorough mistake. To have confusion of these characters, to have more than one version of Batman is a massive mistake. Stan Lee knew this way back in the 60s and 70s. He knew that what DC were doing with their Earth 1 and Earth 2 and Earth 3 and multiple different versions of the same superheroes is confusing for the character, because for the audience reader, why do I care about Superman dying in this comic if there's 3 or 4 others of them, right? Mm-hmm. Which is why Stan Lee only really wanted multiple realities to come in these one-off what-if side stories that don't really matter, and they're just a little distraction. When DC was having multiple Superman and multiple Batman, he believed that was really just not, you have to live and die with the character that you're watching and reading about, believing it. And if there's so many different Batman, or if that Batman dies but I can go and watch Matt Reeves' Batman, then it's confusing.
We should talk about some of the titles, confirmed titles. We don't know everything, but we do know some of the titles that are confirmed for the DC Studios slate. Chief amongst them, of course, is Superman Legacy, which is coming in 2025. That I'm really, really excited for. My controversial opinion is that there's never been a truly great Superman movie. I'm putting it out there. And I feel like, again, for all the reasons we've discussed, James Gunn, he gets the humor, he gets the humanity of these characters, and that's what Superman needs. He needs humanity, right? He needs humor. He needs to. Yes, he's an alien, but the humanity of Superman is what's important, I think.
Yeah, I think this plays so well into what James Gunn is good at. He's so good at balancing, the two natures of something like that. And I'm really excited to see who he's going to cast. I feel like we're going to be talking about this forever. It's one of the biggest questions, other than Bond, I guess. But yeah, I think he's exactly the right person to be telling this story. And I think people will complain that, say, do we need another Superman film? Yeah. But if he can bring something new to it, which I think he can, why not?
And there's never been a really good one either. I'm just saying, Josh, and people say Superman is boring, that Superman's overpowered. You can't really tell a good story with Superman. I disagree. Well, how do you feel about that? Like, is there scope for this to be a really exciting, it's going to a fresh take on the superhero genre?
Yeah, sure. I think it's going to be a tough act to follow. I think they did mess around Henry Cavill a little bit, in all honesty. And I think it was a very bold statement for James Gunn to come in, particularly after the end credit scene for Black Adam, and to immediately say, no, we're going in a different direction. Yeah. Initially, I didn't like that. I did want to see more of Henry Cavill, because it did feel like his story was opening up ever so slightly. But I am very excited to see a new take. I'd like to see a bit of a younger version. Some of the casting rumours have been quite interesting. So I am excited to see what he does with it. I think he's going to give it a lot of love. Again, going back to his interviews, he's been talking about how he's grown up with all of this Superman content. So I think he himself does want to do it justice, and I think that's going to reflect on the movie.
Yeah. And the other title we need to talk about before we wrap up, we talked about Batman, making the Batman 2, but also they're making The Brave and the Bold, a new Batman movie. Again, are we just sort of done with Batman at this point, or are we excited, Will, for The Brave and the Bold?
I want all the Batman forever, not necessarily Batman forever. I don't know much about Batman, The Brave and the Bold. This fella here absolutely swears by it. It's
not the cartoon series.
Oh.
It's not the cartoon series.
We might have had this discussion already elsewhere, but from what I understand, there's going to be more of a team involved with like Robin and stuff. Would you? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think, my dear, it's mainly it's Batman and Robin. The idea. It's Damian Wayne, the son of Batman, being introduced as the new or the first Robin.
Which is a for all the, we've seen a lot of Batman movies, we've not seen that father-son dynamic. The Damian Wayne character's never been in live action, right?
So again, I think the source material that James Gunn has pointed to is Grant Morrison's Batman run, which for my money is it's the most incredible run of a single writer on Batman ever. And it blows away the kind of I think the movie's adherence to the inspiration of Frank Miller needs to be put to bed. I think we need to be done with a dark, brooding, not a grim and gritty Batman needs to be put to bed. We need more sci-fi. That's what we need of Batman. We need more lightness and sci-fi. And we need a guy that throws boomerangs at a clown. That's what we need.
Need to go full Adam West. Well, that's what we think. We're going to throw to our audience one last time. We want to know which has your heart. Maybe our discussion tonight has changed your mind. That would be nice. But is it the established MCU? Are you still very much on the side of Marvel? Or does the promise of something new from James Gunn's DC Studios appeal? Has that won you over? Again, we'll throw to our panel. Louise, big question, Marvel versus DC. What side are you landing on?
I think I'm always going to be Marvel, to be honest with you. You know, it's had that consistency. You know, it's something that many of us have loved for so many years. And while I am a bit wary about the immediate slate, I think it has got enough going for it that it's going to pull me back time and time again.
So one for Marvel. Josh?
I think it's an odd one because I think I'm much more excited to see what James Gunn does with it. But I think if I had to be seated for one of them, it would be Marvel, just because they have created this feeling with us. They've put us through the emotions. They've put us through everything, particularly with Infinity War. So I would say Marvel in that sense, because I was kind of disappointed after the whole Justice League era. So I'm going to say Marvel, maybe a bit tentatively.
Will?
Oh, you know me. I think at this point it feels like I'm halfway through a mortgage of Marvel, and I really have to commit to this. But man, I am so excited for what's going to happen with DC.
Yeah.
My cup runneth over with all this.
So Marvel or DC?
Sorry, I didn't. I said so many words.
That was a politician's answer, Will.
Yes. Oh wow, I'm going to be great. It's like watching results up there. I'm going to go with Marvel.
Marvel. Rob?
Well, despite the name of the podcast I'm host of, and I'm going to book the trend. I love all the Marvel stuff that seems to be coming out, but we're talking about two of the really biggest heavy hitters, and we're talking about a vision of Batman and Superman without Zack Snyder. I am incredibly excited and hyped for this. The idea that there's going to be some element of, like, as you said, humanity and hope to a Superman character, and some romanticism and excitement in Batman. I'm really, really hyped for that.
Great. And what does our audience say? Well, it's a close run thing, but Marvel 43%, DC 57%. DC has won it. It seems that the audiences are indeed hungry for something new. I mean, I have to say myself, I'm probably, I've always been a Marvel comics guy, so I naturally veer towards Marvel. But I do feel like we're at a bit of a precipice. Like, Marvel is maybe not what it once was. DC is coming up strong now. There's a great hire with James Gunn. It does feel like if DC is ever going to topple Marvel, now's the time it's going to happen. So on that note, that's all our time. But thank you to our panel, Louise, Rob, Will, and Josh. A round of applause, please, for our super panel and our heroic audience. Thank you very much.